Greetings, everyone. My name is Shepard Smith, Head of Marketing here at Gravitate Solutions, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. The topic of today's conversation is data analytics for membership professionals. And while we have a lot to discuss in the next 30 minutes, we welcome questions and invite you to submit them at any time using the written chat function on the right side of your screen. We'll circle back to you afterwards with answers. Everyone in the audience is muted, and we'll be sending all of you a link to the recording of this webinar afterwards. We have two presenters today, Rob Miller and Brandon Loishan. Rob is a CAE who many of you know both as a Senior Association Executive at the Trade Association 340B Health and as President and co-founder of Avectra, the company that invented the modern web-based AMS with the launch of NetForum. Rob, I'll now turn the presentation over to you.
Great, thank you, Shepard, and welcome everyone. And obviously our topic today is analytics for membership professionals, but our philosophy is data analytics should be for everyone. It should not require any IT involvement, and the look and feel should be very easy. And at my prior association at 340B Health, I can attest that my staff were able to use the system with little to no training. Nucleus is fully responsive and allows you to run it on your tablet, your mobile device, or your browser. And so it makes it very, very easy to use. And it provides a very valuable input when you're dealing with the annual meeting of your board, when you have that data right at your fingertips. We pull any and all of your source data, whether it's the AMS, the email, the marketing, or your community data, and we call that blended data. And the results are brilliant visualizations with answers to key questions. So let's talk about the typical challenges that many associations face, and in particular, membership challenges. Increasing your membership renewals, increasing your membership acquisition, and increasing your member engagement. And we have a few examples today where we're going to show you organizations that are having great success growing their membership. Our first example is the American Medical Informatics Association. This association is the leader in the science of how to use data. So we're very pleased that they selected Nucleus as their data annex solution. Their challenge was to grow membership renewals. The problem is they had lousy tools to understand their membership activity, and because their data was spread across many different systems, they couldn't evaluate and measure those trends. The solution was to implement Nucleus, blend the data, and then utilize that data to segment and find just the right members to contact. The results for them is they increased their membership renewals by 10%. The second example is my trade association 340B Health, and another organization that's a professional society that deals with member engagement. The problem that we had is we could not effectively measure engagement with the tools we had. So again, we implemented Nucleus and we developed an engagement model with all the blended data. The result was we had instant recognition of the most engaged non-members, which were obviously our acquisition, and our least engaged members, which are really the targets for your retention efforts. The third example that Brandon will show you today will focus around member retention, revenue, and total member value. The problem is that clients cannot effectively measure their retention, the composition of their revenue, and the total value they provide their members with the types of tools they have. And as you know, AMS systems are inherently bad as transactional systems to be able to do snapshotting and trending of data. So the solution for these organizations was to implement Nucleus with snapshotting and for total member value to establish dollar values for all the benefits that an organization provides its members. The results were that they were able to get very detailed trends and real knowledge about their revenue and their retention. And as it relates to the total member value, they were able to really just demonstrate value to their members to get them to renew. So how is this all possible? Well, let me dig just a little bit deeper into how Nucleus works. There's really four components. The first component is the data lake, where we store all the data, both structured and unstructured, and we use modern tools so it's extremely fast. The secret sauce is the processing pipeline, which is what we use to organize, blend, and then transpose the data where necessary, so it's very useful for our third component, which is the intuitive interface. And Brandon will demonstrate that interface to you in just a moment. And then where the processing pipeline is the secret sauce, the actionable output is really where the ROI happens. Once you've gone through and identified the actionable insight, you want to be able to get the data out, push it into your e-marketing tool, and then contact those members that you really feel like you can engage. I want to talk just a little bit more about blending and transforming data. In this particular example, we are blending data from 4 systems: an association management system, an e-marketing tool, a social community, and a survey. And think of it that we logically take that data and create one large record with many, many columns of data. And once we have that, every one of those columns of data can be used as a filter in the system. But we also transform that data. The perfect example is member type. In your current member system, you probably need to identify someone as a member by marking that they're a regular member, that they have a status of active, that they've paid, or they're within their grace period, and maybe they might have to have a number of years of membership. That's very hard for people to run a report, remember all those fields. But when we move the data into Nucleus, we put them in as member and non-member. 2 other examples: we convert join date into tenure. We convert age into generation. That makes it very easy for your users to access that data. Nucleus has been integrated to many, many systems. We focused on AMS systems, e-marketing tools, community tools, Google Analytics, a lot of the tools that are most common in the AMS space, and we're adding new ones every month. So if yours isn't on the list, we probably have it on the list. And if it isn't on our immediate list, we would work to have it done for you as quickly as possible. Now with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brandon, and I want you to please note that he will be showing you a demo of live client systems. So you'll be seeing the real challenges and the real solutions presented to you, but in a real system at the speed that you would expect to have it if you were running the system at your site. With that, I'll turn it over to Brandon.
Sure. Thanks, Rob. So my goal for today, everyone, is really just to show you a little bit about how we analyze membership in our baseline. And so hopefully, as I'm walking through our sites today, you're going to learn a little bit, or maybe find some cool visualizations that you might like to utilize as well. So first things first is that when you come to Nucleus, you're going to see a screen that looks like this, and basically this is kind of the home page. And the way that I like to start my presentations here is quickly just by kind of walking through the way that the navigation works, so that as I'm going through the sites and clicking places and showing you different things, it's going to make sense to you what you're seeing, where you're going, and what I'm doing. And hopefully by the time that we're done with this presentation today, you'll have enough insight into the tool in order to be able to utilize it yourself if it was something that was available to you. So first things first is up here in the top left of the screen is our main navigation button, and this is what opens up what we call carousels within Nucleus, and they're really just the ways that our clients are choosing to organize their analytics. And so today we're mostly focusing on membership. But what you should know is that this is only a very small portion of the analytics that we can provide, and we can provide insights into any of the different business areas that your organization might be working in. The next thing on the screen here is that you're going to see what we call data cards, and those are those 3 cards that you see on the screen. And essentially, this is how Nucleus is able to be responsive. So if you're on a tablet, it snaps to 2. If you're on a phone, it snaps to 1 card being displayed here. The other thing I like to point out here is that data does flow into Nucleus in real time. So as your members are doing things in the different source systems where you have data stored about them, that information is flowing into Nucleus, and it's being presented to you as the most up-to-date information that you could possibly have about those members. And so here you're going to see some key things that our clients like to track, that we like to track with our clients. Again, part of our baseline, that are things like their goal, right? Their KPI or their goal for membership. And again, that flows in real time. The next thing you'll see is their total number of members. And the reason that this is important, it kind of comes back into play with what Rob was mentioning a little bit earlier, and that is that associations have different definitions of what a member is, right, from association to association. Sometimes internally within the association, the marketing person might have a different definition of what a member is from somebody else. So what we're really doing is we're taking your organization-wide accepted definition of what a member is, and we're placing, formulas, logic, algorithms behind the scenes so that you're always starting and working from that true membership number. So everyone always has that single source of truth. All right, now that doesn't mean that I can't go into any of these particular cards. In fact, that's what I'm gonna do here in just a second. You'll see each of them has an explore link down here at the bottom, and start dissecting the information a little bit further. So the first one here is this one. So I'm just gonna go ahead and click explore on our screen here. And this is where you're gonna start to see the real power of what a tool like Nucleus can help you do. So for instance, when I click explore down into my membership card, I'm gonna start to see things like total members by years of experience, or by clinical research focus, primary role, by practice setting, right? So these are all things that are important for this individual client. But you would also have things that you're tracking in a similar vein that would be important for you to be able to see here. And so you'll notice when I mouse over any of the individual buckets here, I see how many members fit into any one of those given criteria. You'll also notice that Nucleus can help you track your data collection efforts. So not all, we don't always have all the information about every single member, but there is information that you want and that you want to be able to utilize in your data analytics efforts. So you'll see there's a not specified bucket here. And what a lot of our organizations do is they use that not specified bucket to track as that goes down and the other pieces of information come up. Now, the real power of Nucleus comes from me being able to start applying filters over here on the right-hand side of the screen, so that if I only wanted to see members who are in a particular research focus, right? Maybe that's bioinformatics. I check off bioinformatics over here on the right-hand side of the screen. It refreshes the visualization, and now I'm looking at members who fit into that particular area, right? If you wanted to apply additional filters, you go through the same process. If you want to clear out your filters, it's down here at the bottom of the screen. You just hit clear, and bring you back to the beginning. All right, so a very quick and easy way for me to go ahead and find who I'm looking for from my membership database. The other thing that I like to point out here too is that Nucleus will help you with things, I call it bucketizing, but it's essentially placing your members into buckets or categories based on information that they've given you. So maybe we don't know exactly, this isn't a self-identified field as what, study conduct, right? Maybe that's something where we take people's titles and we place them into a bucket based off of, the algorithms that we've created here within the system. Now, the other things I like to point out on this screen are that at any point in time when you're working in Nucleus, you do have access to the data table that's making up the visualizations above. So if you click the data table button, it's going to open up our membership table here, and we're just going to quickly be able to see, who these people are. So including any of the filters that I would have applied here, I'm able to download this into CSV, use it in an email marketing tool. I can also go ahead and export it into a PDF, right? So if there's a visualization that I want to share externally with somebody else, I can export it. It's going to tell me all the filters that I have applied there, so on and so forth. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hop back here, and the next visualization that I want to show you in our baseline is the second one here, which is the membership trends over the last 6 months. And so this is where that snapshotting, again, that Rob was talking about a little bit earlier comes into play. So kind of notoriously in the AMS space, tracking historical data or historic membership numbers is something that is usually pretty difficult. The reason for that is that AMS systems usually don't store historical data. So if a field comes in and it's updated, that's the new value for the field. And so essentially what Nucleus can help you do is take that snapshot of point in time data so that you have your trends of what your membership numbers look like if you wanted to go back to a particular month. So if I wanted to know what my membership number was in January of 2019, I've got that saved and stored here within Nucleus. Also, as we're going out into future months, right, these are basically the number of members who have already renewed through the future months here that you're seeing on the screen. And then in addition to that, we've got all the same filters that we had on the previous screen. So I can take a look at my members by their clinical research focus or their package or their practice setting or whatever it is that's important for you to be able to filter by over here on the right-hand side of the screen. The next thing that I want to show you then is the revenue down here at the bottom of the screen. And this is really just from the perspective of just because your membership numbers change or they go down, you also need to be able to look at things from the revenue perspective, right? Your dues may change, your pricing structure may change. You want to make sure you're taking a look at it from both perspectives. And again, any of those filters that we want to use over there on the right-hand side of the screen. The next thing that I do want to show you too is I'm going to hop into another site here and show you another visualization around dues revenue. And what this allows me to do is see a year-over-year comparison of the total amount of revenue that's coming in. But it also allows me to do things like if I want to do, so now I'm looking at the full year, but if I want to do a comparison, so essentially what I'm looking at is the dues revenue as of July 31st for all the previous years, right? So that's what you see here in the green bar. And then the gray bar is the revenue that came in throughout the rest of the year. So from July 31st to the end of the year. So I'm doing a comparison for them here. And then also just the normal year to date. So this is going to show me in 2016 what my revenue was as of July 31st. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and go back here. Just give me 1 second. Okay, and so then the next thing that I want to show you is another visualization that's going to show us, member acquisition or new member acquisition. So that's going to be member joins right here. And so this is basically going to show us joins and rejoins that are happening over a period of time. And so again, we're tracking that both from a number perspective and then also from a revenue perspective on the screen. Right, and so then the next one. So again, our baseline here, I'm going to go over to our retention. And so we're seeing here also our monthly member retention goal. But what I really want to show you inside the member retention visualization is that, we're taking a look at our retention overall. And we saw that previously on the previous screen that our monthly goal is 68%. And you can see that this organization, they're getting pretty close to that goal. But there are a number of different ways that we can go ahead and start dissecting the data to find out who is the group that isn't being retained, right? And so by doing that, we can do things like take a look at their years of experience. So maybe it's the newer members, which is typically a problem that we see, and we can go ahead and click on this less than 2 years of experience, and we find out, okay, that looks like it's true. So here we see that the retention rate for these particular members is actually much lower. And we can see things like, if we wanted to filter by clinical research focus or any of the other filters that we have here on the right-hand side of the screen. And so, this is kind of a common problem that we see in the associations that we've worked with, and that is that the newer members are the least likely to be retained. And so I want to walk you through a story of one of the clients that we've worked with and how they actually remedied that situation. And so just give me 1 second, I'm going to hop over to another site here. And that is the American Medical Informatics Association. And so basically, much like the organization we were just taking a look at, they had already identified that members in their 0 to 4 years of tenure, or otherwise they're new members, or they're least likely to renew, the least likely to engage with them, and they wanted to figure out ways to do that more effectively. And so you can see here, new members or members in 0 to 4 years of tenure are also actually their largest bucket of members. So it was really important for them to kind of turn that trend around. And so in order to do that, they started by just figuring out what else do we know about our members. And again, these are all visualizations that are a part of our membership baseline. And that starts with things like, where are they geographically, right? This tells us, where we should hold events, right? What geographic issues should we let them know about? And so we can do these types of visualizations, these breakdowns by, any geographic category that you might have. It could be state, it could be county, zip code, congressional district, internal regions to your organization, right? These are all live visualizations where I can go in and click on the different areas and figure out, who's where and what's going on. So I'm going to skip over some of the ones for retention for now, since we just took a look at those in the other site. But there are some other things, again, things that are important for this organization, like their settings. So they work in the medical industry. They've got members who work in academia, health systems, hospitals. So just giving them ways to identify what are the key things that I should be talking about with these particular types of members. Same thing with their members by profession and areas of expertise. Now, because Nucleus brings in data from different systems, one thing that this organization was able to do is take a look at the information that's being brought into Higher Logic and use that to help them address members in 0 to 4 years of tenure. And so if I go into my community carousel, which is over here on the left-hand side of the screen, I can see my discussion activity that's been happening over the last 3 months. And so essentially what this is showing me when I explore down deeper into here is all of the new replies and new topics that are being created within the community over a span of time. And I've got my slider down here where I can adjust that span of time. And basically all I really need to do is go into this length of membership and filter that down to members in 0 to 4 years of tenure. And so when I do that, it shows me all of the topics, all of the replies that members in 0 to 4 years of tenure are interested in and talking about within my community. And if I scroll down here to the bottom of the screen, right? That's going to open up the data table where I'm then able to take a look at this column right here, right? And that's going to show me the exact topic, the exact community, the exact thread that this member posted in. And so by doing a little bit of analysis on what members in 0 to 4 years of tenure were talking about, they were able to determine that there are 4 key areas that those members were most interested in. And so through doing a little bit of effort of marketing around those benefits, what they offer in that area, they're able to increase their retention rate by about 10% for this particular group. Now, the next thing is that this also bled over into other areas of their business as well. So I'm going to go through this a little bit fast because we're short on time, but essentially they have a clinical informatics conference, and right, so we're basically looking at the registration that came in over time here. So I call this a pace chart, but it's basically a weeks out chart. So here we're looking at, 0 is where the event takes place, and we're looking at year over year the number of registrants that have come in. And as you can see, right, as we start in 2014 and we move to 2019, the total number of registrants that have come to this event has increased, right? So again, part of their data analytics effort, figuring out ways to increase that registration. But the cool thing that I like to show here is that when I filter by that members of 0 to 4 years of tenure, right, we can see the number here in 2014, they had 1 person in 0 to 4 years of tenure attend this event. And in 2019, they've got 219, people attending. So that's one of the key stories that I like to share here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up some other sites here that allow us to kind of visualize or put a value around member engagement. So taking a look at engagement from a different perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up another site here. And so basically the things that I want to show you here are kind of some of the first couple cards that you see on the screen. And so the first one is average engagement. So here we're just taking a look at the average engagement that a member has, quarter over quarter with the organization. And you'll also notice that there are buckets or spans of low engagement, medium engagement, high engagement. And when we mouse over this area, we see that the average engagement is 278 points of engagement, and that is within the low bucket, right? So whatever that tells us about our organization, the average member is lowly engaged with us, right? So if we go into this average engagement area here, one thing that we're going to be able to see is track over time how our engagement average is, performing, how it's increasing for this particular organization, which is good. And we also see, in previous years, right? And again, any of those filters that I want to use on the right-hand side of the screen to determine how engagement is happening for any individual persona or type of member that I'm looking for here. All right, the next thing is engagement levels by individual count. And so when I dive into this screen, basically what it's going to show me is the number of individuals that fall into each of these particular buckets. It's good to see that, no engagement is relatively low, low engagement, medium, high, so forth as we move on. But what this allows you to do is as you take a look at the data and at the data table below, it's going to be able to show you what members in the low engaged bucket are doing, right? What members in the medium engaged bucket are doing. So that you can start analyzing, okay, if I want people to move from low and into medium, right, and they fall into this particular persona, these are the things that other people who are in that persona in the medium group are doing that maybe I can try and incentivize or get these other people in the low bucket to move into that particular area. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hop back here. The next thing that you'll see here is engagement by, basically it's like sector, so you can think of it as different sectors that they work in. So here you can see, the average engagement for somebody who works in one sector over the other. Just again, allowing you a way to dissect the engagement by different groups of people who are important to your organization. Okay, and then the last one I want to show you here on this particular screen is just the top 5 engaged people. So when I explore into this one, it's actually going to show me the top 25 and the bottom 25. And you'll notice that some of these people here have a negative score. So you can actually accrue negative points by doing things like unsubscribing or things like that. So again, just giving us an idea of who the top engaged people are. This can be useful for you in a number of different ways. If you want some examples of how this organization is used, I'm sorry, we're running out of time here, so I'm trying to go a little bit fast. Definitely reach out to me and I can walk you through that particular part. All right, so then the last site that I want to show you today is another way that we're kind of putting a value around engagement. And this particular use case so far has mostly been used by organizations who are trade associations, but it could also be applied to those who have individual memberships as well. So basically what we're taking a look at here is something that we call total member value. And so what we're doing is we're placing a value behind all the membership benefits that organizations take a part of, and we're also taking things like dues costs into account, right? So basically what we're doing is we're comparing the total open market value, which is essentially what a non-member would pay to take place in all the benefits that an individual organization has taken part of. And so here you can see at the top of the screen, we're looking at, this is a ABC Partners, which is an organization, right? And so they belong to this association. This is the total open market value of all the benefits that they took part in, right? This is the actual cost they paid. So then we're able to show them a return on investment of, what their membership is doing or bringing in for them. And so this allows us to do a number of different things. Maybe we send this out around renewal time or things like that in order to show, our member organizations the value that they're getting out of their membership. And so if we dive down into any of these individual cards here too, it does allow us to do some comparison of year-over-year activity and things like that. So the way that you utilize this particular functionality is that if you look at the organization in and of itself, so this is also a roll-up. You can see we're looking at ABC Partners here, but we can also take a look at Acme Worldwide or any of the subsidiaries that fall underneath of it. Okay. So that is it for me today. I'm going to go ahead and swap it back over to Rob here. I hope you guys learned a little bit more about how we utilize Nucleus from the membership perspective. So